doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
Issues just a moment ago. Thank you to everyone for joining us. I am Nikki Medoro. This is the Nikki Medoro Show. A big thank you to Kim McAllister, who was sitting in the hosting chair, setting up the whole show while I was doing my second job in San Francisco. And thank you guys all for your emails. I know some of you heard me. And so I really appreciate all the support as I do both of these jobs and these careers. And I just really appreciate it because I've missed our conversation so much. I've of course been listening back to the couple of days that I wasn't here. And so coming up in about 10 minutes or so, that conversation that you guys had about the drag camp in the Santa Cruz Mountains was great. I love Murphy came on. Again, if you guys want to come in and talk, Kim will put the link in there. We'll allow you guys to kind of zoom on into the conversation and kind of call into the show, but it was a great conversation. So I'm going to have Sean Ryan, who is the Young Actors Theater Camp co-founding director, to come on and kind of expand on that conversation for a little bit with us, talking about the drag camp. I really want to talk about, obviously gender and the history of drag camp, which is the purpose behind that camp, but also the questions that they get from kids, not just the parents. Have there been any kind of converts as they've held the camp and educated people? So that's coming up around in about 10 minutes or so on the Nikki Medoro Show, but I really, really love it. Okay, so there's some feedback. No. Oh, no. Okay, hold on. You guys, let me know in the comments if I sound any better. I apologize for all of that. Does it sound any better at all? Let me know. All right. Thank you so much, Andreas, for staying with us. Thank you also to Jim. Nope. It's still not good. It's worse. All right. I'm going to have to see what's happening. Hold on. Stay on the channel. I'll be right back.
back.
What happened to my friend Nikki? Oh, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Mo, so much better. Hi.
Oh my God, I apologize so much. I'm like, please, I want to do the show today. Something was happening with my mic. I think I didn't really actually do anything. I just restarted my computer. So
Okay.
I hope that it was bad. I went and listened back to it just for a quick second. And yeah,
Oh.
sorry guys, but thank you. I'm glad that it's all better. Kim, I was saying actually, thank you to you and for doing the show, but I'm going to be expanding on one of the great conversations that you had.
Okay.
I am bringing on one of the co-founders of the drag camp.
Love it.
And I'm going to be, it's going to happen in about 5 minutes or so. So don't go anywhere, guys, because you guys raised really great questions. I was listening back and this whole question about what is drag, right? Obviously this whole idea of gender, the kind of social construct of gender. But I also wanted to ask, and his name is Sean Ryan, I want to ask him, what are the questions the kids ask? What is the kids' reaction to all of this? I mean, I would make assumptions. I want to know if my assumptions are correct. But are there any kids that show up and have no idea what drag camp is? They just love to, obviously dress up, kind of take part, to act. But I want to really kind of scratch the surface a little deeper and see what it's all about. So again, Sean Ryan with the drag camp, it's the Young Actor Theater Camp in the Santa Cruz Mountains, will be joining us in about 5 minutes or so.
You know what's really cool is when you have a discussion like this, and then you see someone later in the comments, in the after hours comments, pop in and say, "Hey, I run that camp, and I really appreciated that conversation." And it was like, "Oh, that's so cool that you actually managed to find that we found each other." So that's good. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm stoked because he reached out. Somebody shared the link of the show, and again was a great conversation. So we'll expand on that. Oh my God, there's so much news today. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit it all in.
We had a special Nikki Medoro Show party last night.
I know, and I had just missed it because my son is a saxophone player now, and so and Kim, I was thinking of you because you're like, well, it's going to be like the Clash and clarinets or anything. The winter or the fall concert versus this spring one, night and day. I mean, it was actually pretty good. I would have
measure
to
the
say.
progress. This is great.
Yeah. So obviously the big news from yesterday that Kim and John Rothman came on, kind of did a little toast, was regarding Trump and the E Jean Carroll verdict. Now, on one hand, it is so nice to see, him at least beginning to be held accountable for the accusations against him. On the other hand, he's going to appeal. He loves to keep these things dragging in the courts. So on one hand, I'm glad to see it. On the other hand, let's just wait and see. But because of that verdict, does it surprise anybody that we're still treating him like a normal presidential candidate? He is having a town hall tonight on CNN. And it just, it concerns me because I feel like we're making the same mistake we made before, treating this guy like he's not facing so many charges.
Like he's a legitimate candidate.
Exactly. So I'm going to show you this. This is the CEO of Warner Brothers. Okay. Obviously, with CNN, owns CNN. And this is him responding to people questioning, like, what the hell? You're telling me that Trump is going to get his own town hall. And this is what he had to say.
Former President Trump is going to be on CNN?
Yeah, he should be. He should be.
Look, you've already gotten criticism. Remember what John Malone said? Let's get some real journalists. Now you try to get some real journalists, and you're getting hit from the left for getting rid of a couple.
CNN has the greatest journalists and the largest group of journalists in the world. In the Ukraine, Poland, and Russia, we have over 86 people on the ground. We're not reporting from
an opportunity given what happened at some of your competitors?
Is a divided government.
Right.
We need to hear both voices. That's what you see. Republicans are on the air on CNN. Democrats are on there.
MSNBC.
All voices should be heard on
David,
CNN.
suddenly MSNBC is a real force to be reckoned with some of the problems that Fox has had. Is CNN going to fill a vacuum?
There are a number of advocacy networks out there. Our focus is to be a network about
like us.
Facts, the best version of the facts, as Carl Bernstein would say. Great journalism, and not just politics either. But when we do politics, we need to represent both sides.
I feel like we're getting into this both sides thing. right? Well, yes, he is a presidential candidate. I'm not arguing that. He is. He's thrown his hat in the race. But I feel there's, again, this growing danger of, oh no, it's fine that we have someone that has been found guilty of battery, right? Owes this woman millions of dollars for what he's done. And we're treating him like he's someone that can still run this country. It blows. Now, Caitlin Collins, a lot of people are giving her, praise that she's going to really stick it to him. She has the experience and what have you. I don't know, Kim, are you going to watch? Because I think that's what CNN cares about.
I will watch because this is my thing, right?
Right.
I'm interested in that. So I would watch regardless. But I feel like it's a great opportunity. Someone in the chat mentioned, it's look at giving a sexual predator a primetime special. I don't feel like that.
I mean,
I
it
think
is.
it's a good moment. It's hard to interview him. And this is kind of an excuse to interview him. And if there aren't questions like, tell me what you think happened on January 6th. Were you behind it? Do you think you bore any responsibility for that? Tell me about what just happened with E Jean Carroll. Do you regret saying that she wasn't your type? How was it that you confused her for your women? These questions, I want them, and I don't want him to be, allowed to skate away with, his typical answer and lie.
I just worry, okay, so Deidre says, I will watch to see if he makes a fool of himself. That's why we watched before.
Yeah.
That's why we watched when he got elected. Oh, what's Trump going to say? What's Trump? He knows it. And I'm like you, Kim. I got some cheerleading stuff happening this evening, but I'm going to have my phone on me. And so it's definitely, on one hand, I want to watch it so I know what to talk about. So I know everything for tomorrow. On the other hand, it bothers me. Yeah. It bothers me because we're again doing this thing where we're treating him like he's a normal freaking human being, and he's not. No. He's not. He's a criminal. I firmly believe, my opinion, but I mean, he's been found guilty. I mean, it was civilly, but he isn't worthy of it. And how are we supposed to really talk about issues and viable candidates if once again he is sucking the air out of the room with his nonsense?
Beth writes that, yes, all voices, including a sexual predator. Does the conviction mean that his reputation is now in the mud and his
when was it not in the mud?
Is no longer valid? I mean, well, there are a lot of people out there who are like, they weren't upset by the grab him by the pee. They weren't upset by January 6th. They're not going to be swayed by this verdict. And so there are a lot of people that are still interested in what he has to say. I'm not saying that's a good thing. But it is what it is,
I think I was on social media this morning and there was this woman and she was pointing the camera at her face, but you can hear two men talking behind her. And they were talking about the verdict, the Trump verdict. And one guy is just saying, yeah, he said he didn't do it, but all he did was rape her. And then they both started, and then they started laughing.
No.
That's the problem with the people that watch it. They actually don't care that he's a sexual predator. That is the truth that many people need to realize, is there is a contingent of Americans who don't care. And Hillary Clinton was right. It's a basket of deplorables. It's not everybody. It's not even every Republican. It's not every conservative. But there is a basket of deplorables. She nailed it. And they take it as, a pride that they've been called that by Hillary Clinton. Knock yourself out. If you consider yourself a deplorable, fine, own it. But understand what you're owning, because Trump owns you. You think that you're, I'm free, I'm not woke. No, you're in a cult. Call your parents, get some help, because that's all it is. That's all it is. I mean, I kind of want to watch to see if Caitlin Collins rips him a new butthole, but I doubt it's going to happen.
Carrie says it's shameful not watching it. Do you think that by watching it, we're somehow then saying we're supporting it? That if no one watched it and then CNN realized, there's no interest here.
There's no money in Trump. Yeah, I definitely think that to do our part, we should
Are we
not
doing a
watch it.
disservice by saying that we'll watch? Is that? Thanks, Carrie,
Maybe
for
this
that.
is what we should do. This is what we should do. Okay. And I know that you and we want to watch for the job's sake, right? To talk about it. We're talk show hosts, right? What if we instead just waited for those that had to watch it, do a recap? That way they don't get the ratings bump, right? Like that's what they're going to look at. Trump's going to be like, oh, did you see the ratings I got? It was the most success. I'm saving CNN, you know? And it's not. Yeah. He just is the most outlandish things, and it's ridiculous. But this is the party. I mean, this is the party of Trump being, convicted civilly in the E Jean Carroll case. And then you saw the headline about George Santos. He's been released.
13 charges.
Yeah, but he's released on $500,000 bond. But he's a pathological liar that the Republican Party doesn't seem to care too much about. In the meantime, they are targeting groups that pose zero threat to the American public, LGBTQ issues, drag shows. And I do want to get to him because he's waiting in the wings, and to expand on a great conversation, Kim, that you had earlier. And I'd like to welcome Sean Ryan. There he is. Sean, you are the co-founding director of Young Actors Theater Camp. You were sent the link to Kim's talk because we didn't have you on, but she was bringing up this article about how the trolls were not going to be able to shut down this drag camp. So, Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And thanks it was one of the nicest surprises just to click on a piece of media yesterday that was just Kim, just fighting the good fight. It just felt so like the love that has poured in through every possible portal to us over the last 2 days has just been tremendous. But this has been
now,
great.
was this the first time you guys had the drag camp?
Well, so what's funny is, I don't know if it's funny, it's more interesting, is that this camp, Young Actors Theater Camp, has been running for almost 22 years now. And maybe 2 or 3 years in, one of the kids suggested, like, what if we do a drag night? And like, boys could dress up like girls, girls could dress up like boys. We could dress up as more exaggerated versions of our genders. We dress up as unicorns, who cares? And we were like, let's do it. And so we've been doing drag at camp for 18 years. And then all these different performers who either, some performers have drag experience as drag queens. Some have it as actors. So like, they were in La Cage aux Folles, or like I played a drag queen on the TV show Bones. I'm cool. But I know how to like access, and I know what building drag characters can do for your performance ability. So we had done it for years. It's just interesting to me that because there was like a poster that was released, I think in February, and it had one image of one of our kids in drag at one of the drag shows. The right wing just went crazy. I mean,
now it's a story, right?
Isn't that so bizarre? And it's what I find is very sad is that I like debate. I like conversation. I like when someone presents something to me and I'm able to be like, I had not considered that. I'm going to consider that.
Yes, that's being mature, right?
But when you approach, a kids camp that's been around for 22 years, that's offering the art of drag, and we phrase it from like Bugs Bunny to Lady Bunny, Mrs. Doubtfire. It's been in our culture forever. Right. Why would we hide it? It doesn't make any sense. When we present that, there are so many people that are not just misinformed, but not informed. They do none of the research. And what was being fired back at us was stuff like pedophile and groomer.
Grooming.
That's cool.
That is not only not true, but I find that to be dangerous.
Exactly. It puts a target on your back.
It puts a target. It's not okay. Yeah. I mean, I think we have to dispel that. And the minute we hear it, we have to kick it out because it's just not true.
Just because I disagree with someone doesn't mean that I'm going to find the most harmful, hateful word and lay that allegation on them. I'm like, that's not fair. That's stupidity.
Well, Sean, let me ask you, it's been around. Obviously, you've been doing this drag camp. It's just getting renewed attention because this is the latest issue that the GOP is kind of targeting. But within the camp, first off, what are some of the things that kids ask if they've never done drag before? What is the actual response from those that you were actually serving?
Yeah, well, I think the way that the Art of Drag workshop that our genius Cassie Cristant founded and works with. She's a cis woman, mother of 3, happened to have drag experience from her theater days in Chicago. And she just always related to like the over the side or over the top, sized characters that she was able to create. So when she comes in, she's approaching it from a character base. So our kids are very interested in like, oh wait, what am I going to wear? Or what's my makeup going to be? Or what's my hair going to be? And we're like, wait, let's start with who are you? Like, what do you want to explore? I think yesterday on the show, there was one of your guests, Kim, that had such a great point of like, oh, my daughter played Sky Masterson in Guys.
That was my kid.
Nikki's daughter.
That was my child. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And nobody ever thought that it was drag. No one's thinking about that. But I love that you mentioned, Sean, the question, who are you? And that I feel like when we talk about drag, when we talk about gender, people miss so much. It's not, you tell me who I am. Give me space to tell you who I am. I know me the best.
And the biggest opportunity for growth that we have as a society is that if the question that is posed to you threatens you, just look at it, right? Yeah. So the fight before this was me being a gay man running a kids camp, right? The fight was like, oh, are gay people, and I'm talking 15, 20 years ago with gay marriage, right. Are gay people trying to influence our kids into being gay? And
that whole gay agenda thing. Yeah.
It's not possible. The only thing on our agenda is Taco Tuesdays, by the way. That's like the majority of the gay agenda is just making sure we make it to the local Mexican place on Tuesdays for tacos. But the truth is that if we look at the bigger question, I think the reason that people are nervous is because it is asking the question, who are you? What do you stand for? How do you want to be the truest sense of yourself? And I think the arts in any way helps kids to explore that. And if a child at camp, figures out that they are trans or non-binary, or that they really want to be a drag queen, but they still feel like they are the cis person that they were born into the body of, that's great. That's great. You've discovered something. But we are never, like we tell parents, we don't push or teach sexuality or gender identification. Those are things, sorry, I was just going to say really quickly, those are just things when you're in the community that you feel safe to think about.
Right.
So.
And that's the thing someone in the chat just said, is that grown-ups make it about sexuality. Kids are playing dress up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. How would you define drag to somebody that doesn't understand it? I mean, what do you say? Is it just like they were saying before, an exaggeration? Is that a good way of doing it? What has worked for you in everyday life explaining it to people that don't get it?
Yeah, for me, being a cis gay male who I've probably played like 6 drag queens in my career as an actor, but I have never been a drag queen. I think it is one of the hardest things that you could possibly do. I remember the times that they had to put me into wardrobe and makeup. It was taking 2 and 3 and 4 hours. Wow. I mean, it's so intense. It's such an art form and it deserves to be revered. So I can't speak as a drag queen, but as an artist, I think drag is freedom of expression. Mm. And I think it's the freedom of expression that pushes past any known boundary of gender. It's whatever you want it to be.
Why do you think the people against drag don't remember things like Robin Williams, The Birdcage? What was it? Was it Tu Wong Fu with Love? Remember that movie? And Patrick Swayze. What was it? Wesley Snipes and John Leguizamo. Nobody was doing any sort of protests when they were dressed up as drag. I mean, it has been in our history forever. In your opinion, why do you think drag, specifically drag, is being targeted in this way?
This is 18 can of worms, but we'll peel back a little layer really quickly. I do honestly believe that the first time that I witnessed this sort of distraction, which is what I think it is, was with gay marriage. And it was sort of like, look over here at what these horrible people are doing, and please pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Right. Who is destroying the world. So I know that that's a very like over the top sensationalized idea, but I really do believe it's just a distraction. It's to get people to look somewhere else other than at the people who are who have promised us real reform. Like, we need help as a country. Why are you looking to Sunday brunch?
Right.
That's
not the biggest problem facing this country right now is drag shows or drag queen story hour.
Nothing at all. And guess what? If you don't like Drag Queen Story Hour and you don't want your kids to do that, don't take
go.
them.
There
Don't
you go.
go. It's that easy.
Problem
It's
solved.
so easy. Okay, so Sean, how often are you going to be doing these drag camps? How can people, if they want to go, they want to experience it, they want to know more, when's it going to happen?
So every little bit of our programming is found on our website, which is youngactorstheatercamp.com. And we have everything from Dungeons and Dragons workshops. We have writers workshops. We've got actors workshops, and of course the drag workshop. And we're doing it all summer at our overnight summer camp. And it is literally the most fun in the world.
I'm so sad that it's
It
not all over the
sounds
Bay
like it.
Area.
I know,
I mean,
right?
don't you like, God, how long is it to Santa Cruz again? Yeah.
Right. Well,
I'm closer, so that works for me.
The best part is most of our programming is overnight. So we're, it's typical like old school summer camp, overnight camp. And people come from all over the world. I mean, this summer we've got kids that are coming from China and from Thailand and from Russia and from Spain.
Wow.
And then certainly all over the US. I would say about 70% of our campership each summer comes from like Nevada to Arizona and then like as far over as Colorado. That's our major because we're all right here in this little area. But yeah,
can I throw you a couple of questions before I let you go? I know you have to go, but I have this one. Now, to confirm, Wes is asking, is drag only dressing as female? Is it also females dressing as a man? I would say yes, right? I mean, it's both. It goes always.
1,000%. Drag is expression. So I love RuPaul's quote of like, we're born in our birthday suit.
Naked,
all
exactly.
The rest is drag. Because even as I picked out this shirt today, do you know what I mean? We figure out how to do our hair. Everything is about presenting ourselves in a way that we feel comfortable with. And there is a large population of artists that feel comfortable putting on heels and a big wig and impersonating Dolly Parton. That sounds like a good time to me. I mean, it's all dressed up at the end of the day.
I think that's mostly what I learned yesterday from the conversation is the meaning of drag, which is not what I had always thought, which is not the idea of a large man in large heels and a big wig. That's not drag. Drag, I think you actually told the SF Gate that what drag is just the art of acting in an exaggerated fashion.
Right.
That's all. So when you take what it really means and you start thinking about the real meaning of the word, I think it really flips the script on, what people are trying to do with the target.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And one of our viewers, John, is saying no one's protesting drag. They're protesting Drag Queen Story Hour being promoted to children, claiming that we're making a straw man argument. I don't see the difference within that. Like you mentioned, Sean, you don't have to go to Drag Queen Story Hour. What is the harm that could possibly come from drag queens reading stories to children?
Exactly. I mean, it's of course, like everything that we do at our camp, I hope this goes without saying, is at a PG level. Everything, not even just in the drag camp. Like if we're going to show the movie In the Heights, and that has a PG-13 rating for some language, we run that by parents. Like we make sure our parents are informed and they're consenting to every single thing. But in terms of people being, in this comment of saying that it's not about drag, it's about Drag Story Hour, I don't see, cis straight male Republican Story Hour. Who's going to read to our kids? Why are you so offended by it?
Exactly. Oh, I don't know. I mean, the question that I always have in my mind is go down the road of not accepting children, community members as they say they are versus not doing so, targeting them, telling them that they're not who they are, taking away their medical care, all of those things. The outcome to that is just sadness, anger, and sadly, so many times death versus just saying okay and accepting people. I just don't understand how people don't see the difference in that.
You are 1,000% correct. One of the things that came through during this whole, sort of internet explosion of comments was someone saying, the idea that they didn't want their children to be taught something. And the argument to that is we totally get it. You and your family get to decide where you stand with this, but you just don't get to decide it for other families. That doesn't make any sense. And the fact of the matter is, someone said, if an 8-year-old comes to you, this is not my opinion. I'm going to state that right away. This was a quote from a meme. It said if an 8-year-old comes to you and feels they're in the wrong body, they have a mental, their parent has a mental illness. And that it was somehow like the parent was projecting on the kid that they weren't in the right body. Now, here's where we really, because you just touched on it, Nikki, we lose lives of young people.
Yes.
The Rogers, sorry, I got a little choked up. The Rogers and Hammerstein quote that is so important is you have to be carefully taught. Kids don't wake up hating. They're not born hating anything. So as a generation, you do not have to agree with anyone. In fact, with everyone. In fact, if we agreed with everyone, this would be quite a boring world. I love, like I said before, I love hearing other people's points, but just make sure that you're coming from a place of love as much as you can. And when people say like, you're not going to change people's minds, so just keep doing what you're doing and creating the change that you're going to create through this art form. Yes, I'm in wholeheartedness to that. But I do believe that if anyone out there who disagrees with me, here's one thing that anyone is saying: just come from a place of love.
Yeah.
It's a good person if you come from a place of love and not hate, because those kids need to learn that for the next generation, and they need our support, and they need to see that the world is behind them. That's really where the damage is done.
Well, I adore you. I love the work that you're doing. I think that the kids that go to your camp are so lucky. The parents that let their kids go to your camp. I mean, I hope that they go to their neighborhoods and spread the word. Keep in touch with us, Sean. We enjoyed having you on the show. I have a sneaking suspicion the issue about drag isn't going away anytime soon. So I'd love your perspective again. But I appreciate you, and much love to you and everything that you're doing.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Nikki and Kim. It was so great to get to talk to you.
Have a great one. Bye-bye. That was awesome.
Oh, he's great. He's great. I maybe I'll look into that, because that's an overnight camp. So maybe
you could drive down. You could drive down. We can have a slumber party.
Sweet.
We'll have a slumber party. The girls can go to theater camp. I'll have to see the dates. I had the link up and then I shut it down. But it's Young Actors Theater Camp. And they incorporate drag camp within it, but it's not the only thing that they do.
But fun.
It's a great idea. And I hope though that it expands outside the bubble that we live in, because it does need to go to other places.
I found this meme that I was amused by. I'm not going to worry about drag queens unless I see one with an assault rifle.
Pretty much. Nailed it.
Doesn't that really tell the story? Like, we're not worried about assault rifles or taking assault rifles out of the hands of the mentally ill, or
it's the drag queens that are the threat to us.
Drag queens, that's the problem. I mean, really, like, that's where our worry is going to be. Somebody's putting on extra makeup and a wig, but you're not worried about all the guns in the world. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
It's so true, Kim, because the GOP knows that they're not going to be able to win on tackling real issues like an assault weapons ban or anything like that. So they're like, you know who we should target? The happiest people that aren't harming people in the world, the drag queens. Like, are you kidding me right now?
The most fun, most joyful people. It's their fault.
Party poopers. Yeah. I mean, my goodness gracious. Okay, we're going to do some headlines. Coming up, though, I am going to talk about something. Oh, hold on, music. Wow. Thank you. I want to talk about the migrants. Title 42 is ending tomorrow. I'm really conflicted, Kim, on how I feel about this. On one hand, President Biden has announced new rules that is going to limit asylum at the Mexico border. Okay. And he actually announces it's going to start tomorrow, because that's supposed to be the end of Title 42. Yeah. But he announced this back in February. Everyone's acting like, oh my God. No, Biden said he was going to do this. I'm never going to say it's too little too late, because you have to keep working on problems. But I do believe that immigration reform is not a Biden failure. It's not a Democratic failure. It's not even a Republican failure. We as a country, because of our laws and what we stand for, have literally created this issue. We've created a country of opportunity. We've created a country where asylum is legal. It's legal to seek asylum in this country. And so when you have these things that are true and are laws and are allowed, and then you have massive problems happening in other countries that leads to people wanting to flee those countries and come here, this is a problem of our own making. But it only works. Not solving the problem, I should say, only works for the Republican Party. If you think the Republican Party actually wants to solve immigration, you are sorely, sorely mistaken. So we'll get into that. You guys tell me, if you were in charge. And I want to talk in the realm of actual possibility. I do not want to see the words close the border in the comments, because that literally cannot happen. Like, it is not feasible. So let's just stop. Okay, let's just stop it right there. I don't want to see the phrase close the border. That's an easy response, and it's not actually possible. Truly, do you want to get rid of asylum? Do you want to stop being a country in which people to flee? There's a repercussion to that internationally, also morally, I would say. Or do you like the idea of President Biden's new rules? And we'll get into that. Also coming up, we're going to talk about the debt limit. Someone was mentioning on my social media platform on Facebook, talking about the debt limit, how we're saddling all these kids with so much debt. But President Biden kind of stuck it to a reporter. I'll play you the sound of it, who was trying to call him out on not doing enough to reduce the debt limit. And again, I think this is a problem that the GOP likes to say they're solving, and they're not actually doing anything about it. All right, click that thumbs up button. Oh, by the way, I haven't even told you guys during the show because we had audio problems at the beginning. Please click the thumbs up button right there. I want to give some shout outs when we come back to those supporting us in the super chat, because I really appreciate you all. But first, let's take a look at some headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And I love having Nikki Medoro back in the driver's seat. It is the best. Let's talk about George Santos. New York Congressman George Santos out on bond, as Nikki mentioned, after pleading not guilty to federal charges. He was taken into custody Wednesday morning, that's this morning, on 13 counts, including fraud and money laundering. Prosecutors allege the Republican lawmaker misused campaign funds and fraudulently received COVID-19 unemployment benefits. At the same time, he was calling for the president to cancel said benefits. He is calling this, and maybe this will sound familiar to you, he's calling his indictment on federal charges a witch hunt. That's right. He says prosecutors should really be looking elsewhere. Here is what he has to say.
You have Joe Biden's entire family receiving deposits from nine family members receiving money from foreign destinations into their bank accounts.
Yeah, it's always about what other people are doing, not what we're doing, right? The New York Republican was taken into custody Wednesday. Again, 13 federal charges. He's now out on bond. Santos says he has no plans to resign from Congress. He was pleaded not guilty to all charges. He faced pressure to resign since admitting to lying about his life story while running for office last year. This is quite the circus they have going on with this guy. And his vote is kind of important to Republicans. It comes down to different factions within the party. So it could be that they need his vote, and that's why he's not being kicked to the curb. So it's interesting what we're willing to tolerate there. President Biden claims extreme MAGA Republicans are holding the nation's economy hostage. Speaking in Valhalla, New York today, the president warned Americans of what's at stake if Congress fails to pass a debt ceiling hike and the U.S. defaults on its debt. The president said a default would result in the loss of 8 million jobs and the economy would fall into a recession. And as Nikki had mentioned, Title 42 expires tomorrow, and border towns are bracing for the impact as the COVID-era policy has been used to quickly turn back migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border. The White House says the border is secure. Republicans say the Biden administration has ignored this growing problem for years, so this is what we are left with. Another story, a birth control pill could soon be available. This is over the counter for the first time ever. A panel of FDA advisors voted today to recommend the birth control pill called O-Pill, O-P-I-L-L, O-Pill, be made available without a prescription. No requirement for the FDA to follow the recommendation of the advisory panel, so they don't have to do it. But the FDA panel says, yeah, let's make this happen. The man who allegedly slammed into a crowd of illegal immigrants in Texas was high on a cocktail of narcotics. And the hospital report now shows he had cocaine, marijuana, and Xanax in his system. George Alvarez remains jailed on $3.6 million bond. 8 people died in that attack. Former Saturday Night Live cast members showing their support for striking writers Tina Fey, Seth Meyers, and Fred Armisen joined a rally at the Silver Cup Studios in Queens yesterday. Meantime, just a few days ago in Brooklyn, another SNL alum, Pete Davidson, showed his support by bringing pizza to striking workers. So this is something that is ongoing when you have the strike now into its second week, and support coming from all sides. And I don't know if you heard about this, but there is an unemployed California man working again after he left his job interview to rescue a baby in a runaway stroller. Ron Nessman was applying for a dishwashing job at an Applebee's near Los Angeles earlier this month when he noticed a baby stroller in the parking lot being pushed by high winds toward a busy street. A viral video shows the baby's great aunt, as we I think showed on the show, struggling to catch up with the runaway stroller when Nessman ran out and stopped it just as it was reaching the street. A few days later, Nessman got that job at Applebee's, and since the video went viral, he's reportedly been getting other job offers as well. So,
yeah.
That
I have to apologize, I guess, publicly. I somebody wrote me a really nasty email because, again, when I first saw that video, you'll remember.
Yeah.
It shocked me. I thought when it was the mother, I had no idea how old this woman was. It was the grandmother, correct? And again, I was just like, I would be moving more quickly. So I've since apologized for this. Obviously she hurt herself or something happened, but someone said that it was ageist for me to say this or something like that. I was being discriminatory against the older people. I did not mean for it to come across that way. Just when you see a stroller going into traffic, you have a visceral reaction to something happening like that.
My bad. I'm sorry.
My bad. I'm sorry. Exactly.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. All right. So I have a bunch of thank yous, and thank yous to give out right now. Andreas, you're always so very generous. You started us off with $20, and yes, my mic was a mess at the beginning. If you guys are just starting to listen to it, you heard it. Jim with a $10 super sticker.
Jim.
Thank you. Calvin giving Andreas a shout out with his $20 donation.
Calvin, thank you.
Beth, hoping that trembling is excised with $20. Yeah, my mic is better. I have no idea what the problem was. Another huge support from Andreas with $10. Mwah. I adore you, Andreas.
So nice.
I adore all of you. You guys are so generous. I thank you. Wes with a $5 super sticker. You're the best.
Thank you.
Andreas with a confirmation that my microphone was fixed with a $10 donation. Deidre, thank you. Bumpy start, but I am here. Yes, indeed.
Yep.
I think my computer was just kind of working out the kinks. Thank you for that $25 donation. Harry, still celebrating Trump winning bigly for the $10 donation. I love it. Wes with a $5 super sticker. Another generous donation, guys.
Yeah.
$5 from Chris B. Glad to be working from home today to tune in.
Awesome.
It's always nice to work from home, Chris, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then Andreas, Nikki for president with a $20 donation.
Oh, wow.
Even if it was $20 million, I wouldn't be president of the United States. That is a tough gig, Andreas, but I appreciate you so very much for being so generous on the show. You guys are great. And again, we take the super chat donations. We are 100% crowdfunded. And if you can be a monthly subscriber, please do. Just go to thenikkimedoroshow.com. Our Patreon link is there, as well as links to our PayPal. And the monthly subscribers keep the lights on, and we appreciate you guys so very much because I love having the conversations. I missed it. I don't talk too much about my job in San Francisco, although you guys know where I am. But yeah, doing straight news, it's great. It's getting back into what I used to do for so many years, but I missed you guys. I miss news breaking and having these conversations. So let's get into it because like Kim mentioned in the news and I mentioned in the tease, Title 42 ends tomorrow. And this week, once it happens, there is going to be tens of thousands of migrants every single day is estimated crossing the border. That is not, we can't keep, I don't want to use the word allow it because at one point it's technically legal for them to seek asylum here. On the other hand, they're not all seeking asylum. They're not. I was listening to an interview yesterday. They were talking to a gentleman that was on the other side, on the Mexico side of the border. Was he escaping gangs, violence? No. Was he escaping, something that was going to threaten his family? No. He straight up said it. I just want to come to the United States because I can get a better job here. And that's a valid desire, but then you need to go through the legal channels.
Right.
Asylum, the way I believe asylum should be used is you're escaping. I always equate it to being in a burning building. Okay. I'm in a burning building. My country's going to hell in a handbasket. They're threatening my family, my children. I got to get out of here. They're coming for me. I got to leave. Help me. That's my view of seeking asylum. It is not, it's better over there. That is a desire, and you need to go through legal avenues. Now, let's go back to my analogy about a burning building. Let's say my house is burning, and on one side of me is a house. It's a fine house. It's not on fire. I could jump into it and be safe. On the other side of me is another house, but it's a huge house and has all these fancy schmancy amenities, and I'd love to live in that house. Both houses I will be safe in. Okay, that's key. I have to be safe in them. But which one do I want to choose? And for a lot of people, they're saying they want to choose the fancy schmancy house. I want to go live in the mansion. Why would I want to live in, a 1-bedroom shack? It's safe, but it's not as nice. I want to live in the fancy schmancy house. And I feel like that this is the basis behind what President Biden is instituting, which is basically, look, you can seek asylum here after you have tried to seek asylum in other safe countries, safe areas. So that's what he's going to do. You have to begin, or we are going to begin, denying asylum to anyone who shows up at the U.S.-Mexico border without first applying online or seeking protections in a country they have passed through. So basically, unless you're Mexican, you have to seek asylum in another country that you've walked through. And these people are obviously desperate. I'm not saying that the guy that wants to come to the United States for a better job isn't willing to, walk this long distance because his family's living in poverty. I'm not saying that the desire to have a better life isn't worth making the trek. What I am saying is that person multiplied by tens of thousands of people is not sustainable for us as a country. And I've said this before. Yeah, this is a good question, Wes. What countries are considered safe in South America?
Right.
Great question. Now, depends on who you ask and where you go. And I mean, obviously people visit South America. I'm sure there are safe. I do not know the politics of every single country in South America. But you know what I do know? South America cannot fit in the United States. That I do know. It's not sustainable. I would love it if we did. But what we need to do, which is what Republicans don't put any effort into doing, is the long game, the harder game when it comes to immigration reform. The reason why no president since Ronald Reagan has been able to pass meaningful immigration reform is because it's a very difficult thing to do, and it takes a long freaking time. It's not going to happen in a presidency, even 2 terms of a presidency. Why? Why won't it happen? Because it is hard to fundamentally change the politics within a country to keep its own people safe. It is fundamentally difficult to improve an economy in another country enough that they don't want to seek jobs in the future in your country. That is a hard thing to do. And the Republicans know it. And that's why they make it the crux of one of their criticisms against Biden and any Democrat that's in power, because they know that their quote unquote solutions will never freaking happen. Shut the border, build a wall, as if that's going to stop anything. No, they know that it's, and I don't want to say it's unsolvable, but it's not easy to solve. It's not going to happen. It won't even happen within a decade, probably. And so it's easy. It's easy to look at President Biden and say, you're doing nothing about immigration reform. But I'll be fair. I do think that knowing that tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people are heading into your country, your ass should have been at that border a lot more than once for 4 hours in El Paso. I think that is a valid criticism against the president of the United States, because that our president knows politically it does not serve him to go down there, because you know what he's going to have to say is, there's nothing I could do today that's going to stop that from coming.
So what I understand is right now there's all of these people that are camping out along the border waiting for this to end tomorrow. And there's going to be this influx of humanity. They're going to need medical care. They're going to need food. I mean, when you think about what's happening there at the border, they've traveled a long way. They're likely exhausted, right? They have little or to no shelter. They're waiting for this moment of opportunity. And what's going to happen to them when they try to come across? You know, are they going to be met with violence? Are they going to be just immediately turned away? What's the plan? And I feel like that's really what we don't know, is what's the plan here?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's, you can try to put a Band-Aid on it. It's not going to stop people from coming here. They're escaping often horrific situations. Now, in addition to denying asylum to those that have not sought asylum or sought asylum in other countries that they pass through, the U.S. will also, or plans to, open regional hubs around the hemisphere. Now, this is where migrants can go apply to the U.S., Canada, or Spain. There were other hubs in Guatemala and Colombia. So that can help kind of alleviate, because, and I've mentioned this before when we talked about, Brownsville, Texas, El Paso, all of these border kind of towns, right? Unless you live there, it seems a very not you problem.
Yeah.
If I lived in El Paso, if I lived in Texas, in a border town in Texas,
McAllen, Texas,
exactly, Arizona, even Southern California, I would say, right? When you start seeing it day in and day out, even those that have a heart, seeing the shelters for these migrants overwhelmed by tens of thousands of people, just lined up against the street, you do begin to wonder, what the hell is my country doing about it? That is a valid criticism. And I'm sorry, it does lie at the feet of President Biden, because he's the president right now. But you're fooling yourself. If there was anything that he or Trump or Obama or everyone else before could do in 1 or 2 terms of presidency, that was going to make a difference. Because it's geopolitical. It's not just the United States problem.
It seems to me like on every restaurant window or retail establishment, there's a sign that says help wanted. We know businesses have been closing because there's not enough workers. So does it not then seem like it's the perfect time to increase the number of people that we allow in? If we don't have enough workers, and we know that a lot of Americans won't take the jobs that are, minimum wage. So if we need more people to run these places, to work, in order for them for small businesses to stay open, then what's wrong with changing the rules?
Yeah. Well, because you have to have a consensus. And if there's anything that this Congress can't have over anything, I mean, I bet they can't even agree that up is up and down is down. They are so divided that they can't get anything passed, even if at the core they agree with it. And also you have to change people, the average person within these communities, idea of open jobs and open positions and who should fill these jobs. Because that's the argument, right? Oh, these migrants are taking the jobs that Americans don't want. I don't see a bunch of people lining up to work the farms or do this job or do that job. Okay. But that also doesn't mean that they feel comfortable seeing, and I'm just going to say it bluntly, seeing too many brown people take those jobs either. Oh, well, look at this person. Now he has a job and he's never going to leave the country. Because they feel like, who are these people is a question that's often asked by the GOP. We don't know who these people are. They're allowed into the country and Biden just lets them loose, right? Well, that is semi-true. Now, there is a system in place where they're given this kind of, I don't know if it's an app or some sort of code where they have to come back within a certain amount of time. People don't like that. One DHS official says that Biden is ordering the release of migrants into the U.S. with no way to track them. Now, I think Biden would obviously disagree with that, but how comfortable do you feel with letting migrants come to this country. You could feel one way about that. But then also, where do they go after that? Where do they go? We have a hard time wanting our fellow Americans living in our communities, right? There's too many people. Shut the door. Now you want to let people that aren't Americans yet to come? That is a way of thinking that needs to change if there's actually going to be movement there. But I don't see that happening. I just don't. And I know this is kind of a dark, bleak kind of outlook on it, but immigration reform has been an issue for so long because we just can't seem to solve it. We just can't seem to solve it. So again, I ask you, what would you do? What would you do to solve the immigration crisis in this country? I mean, because it is a crisis, especially if you live on these border towns. What are they supposed to do? They're running out of resources. President Biden visited once, and he knew what's coming. Title 42 was always going to end tomorrow. So it's not as if this snuck up on him. And I have to call out people where they should be called out. More needs to be done now. More needed to be done yesterday. We need, and he has. I mean, President Biden, back in February, and I'm just looking at the fact sheet right now, he has put forth ideas to help with what is coming tomorrow. So again, like I mentioned, anybody who attempts to enter the United States without permission will be expelled. They want to send a lot more people to the border towns to facilitate, document, do the paperwork surrounding those trying to seek asylum. They're trying to open new legal pathways to other countries, assist in other countries like Mexico and Central America, put resources to secure the border, disrupt criminal smuggling, and support those border communities. But do you think that there's a bunch of Republicans that are willing to sign on to this plan to give Biden any, even if it's a small win when it comes to this? Not at all. What do they say? They say, no, we need to shut the border. We need to shut the border. No, we should not, Vilma. We should not build a wall. A wall is a ridiculous idea. It always was. Former President Trump even said it himself. He crowdsourced it. How's that sound? Build the wall. Oh, and it played. So he just kept saying it. And then it became like, oh my God, he could not pull back from it at all. You can't build a wall and think that people won't get around.
Well,
Dude.
There's a new legislation from Republicans, I think, in the House that kind of resurrects this whole border wall building thing.
Look, if the Rio Grande can't stop people, if people drown in it every single day and others still continue to cross, you are talking about people that are desperate. You think a wall is going to stop them? No, it's not. I mean, then there's it could slow them down. A lot of things can slow things down, but that's not it. And I had mentioned this, I think the last time I was on, the fentanyl crisis that the GOP loves to point to. They're smuggling people. The drugs are coming in the trucks. Okay. Going through our ports of entry. There is another place where we need to have more people, more staff, more security. Mario, excellent point though. And I saw this earlier in the chat as well. Mario says the only solution is not offer jobs to undocumented people. People aspire to come here because there's always work waiting for them. Go after business owners that hire people under the table. You can't complain about illegal immigration or migrants coming for our jobs and then hire them a breath later because it's cheaper, right? So you don't have to pay health insurance. You got them by the short and curlies because they're not going to go and tell, government officials that you're breaking the rules because then they'll be kicked out of the country. There is a financial incentive for business owners to hire migrants under the table. That's the problem. It's awful. And it's not fair. Yeah, Eric, you're absolutely right. A lot of people say that, but for some reason they never go after the business owners, only the employees. There was that app, I forget what it was called, where you're supposed to quickly be able to check somebody's social security number and everything like that to make sure that you were hiring the right people. I remember I was having a conversation with a conservative about this exact thing, and he was pointing down the street. He's like, look at all that construction. Those construction workers they're illegal, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, did you call, the authorities? Oh, I don't want to get involved in all that. Okay, well,
Yeah.
if you're not going to go after the construction company or the contractors that are hiring these people, then you don't really have a problem with it. You just want to be racist. Now you just want to blame the person that made a difficult trek into this country just to make some money to support their family, but don't hurt the business owner. That keeps the whole system going around and around. E-Verify, Randy. Thank you. E-Verify was it. So yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's going to be plastered. It's going to be plastered all over your news. You are going to see a stream of people walking into the United States. It's happening. They're just waiting. Title 42 will be lifted, and then they're allowed to come in. And we can't keep Title 42. Okay, that's not an option because that's COVID based. That's public health emergency based. And these GOP who want Title 42 to continue don't actually believe that COVID's a problem anymore. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say COVID's not a public health emergency and yet use the so-called public health emergency to keep people from coming into the country. We need a better plan, and it's not probably going to happen anytime soon. So, and it sucks, and it's not going to play well for President Biden. This is not going to play well for him leading into 2024. It's just not. I have time for this real quickly. I just want to do one more thing because I want to move on in the second part of the show and talk about that BART poll, take it a little local, and talk about public transportation. And I want you guys to tell me why you do or don't ride BART or any other public transportation, or do you? But I wanted to play this because the debt limit debate also continues. That's another thing that's kind of on the president's neck. He gave a press conference today in front of a very welcoming crowd. I think it was at some college. And he was talking about the debt limit and what it would do and what it wouldn't do, right? Because the Republicans say, we've put forth a bill and President Biden won't talk to us about it and blah, blah, blah. Well, President Biden, and this, you got to give people that say that he's old. That's what this video is attached to a tweet that says, and they say POTUS is too old, more like the media doesn't listen. So here it is. I want to show you this because it's important when we have debates about something to be fair. Yeah. What exactly are these politicians, some of them lifelong politicians, actually saying? Just like build the wall. Okay, where are you going to build the wall? How are you going to build the wall? Whose land are you going to build it on? All of the, devil in the detail things, politicians love to just skip over. So watch this exchange between President Biden and a reporter.
Okay. Let me go you, and then go to the camera.
Speaker McCarthy said that he asked you numerous times if there was anywhere in the federal budget for cuts. He did not get an answer. So is there?
I got a specific answer. Got a specific answer again today. The first, you didn't listen either, so why should I even answer the question? We cut the deficit by $160 billion, B-I-L-L-I-O-N, dollars on the Medicare deal. We cut the deficit by raising the tax on people making 55 corporations that made $40 billion to 15%. And the list goes on. So,
what he is proposing, is there any room for negotiation?
Watch this.
What's he proposing? Did he tell you?
He talked about.
No, I'm not being facetious. Did he tell you what he's proposing?
He was talking about the bill.
Yeah, but what does it propose? Do you know? I'm not being a wise guy. You all are very, very informed people.
I love when he does that.
Do you know what that bill cuts?
There is a long list of things that it cuts.
No, it doesn't say. It says, does it say what it's going to cut? Or just say generically it's going to cut? Get the problem.
You get the problem. Well, there are some specifics. And some of these things you guys might support and some you might not. It limits federal spending, but on discretionary things like weapons programs, service member pay, grants for schools that serve low-income students, rental assistance for poor people, money to fund research on cancer, claws back COVID money. It targets that $71 billion that Congress is providing the IRS to boost technology or upgrade technology and boost hiring. And Biden's like, I wonder why they don't want to do that, right? It would block the student loan relief, which is extremely popular in this country. It goes after renewables. It would repeal most of the tax breaks to boost production and consumption of clean energy. It would go after SNAP or food stamp benefits.
Yeah.
These are the things. These are the things that the Republicans are putting forth in order to pay our bills. Okay, so that's the problem. Like, it's like, yeah, you're putting forth all these things that there's no way in hell that I could support. So they just want a clean bill. Like, let's just raise the limit to pay for the things that we passed. Now, do I agree with someone that had reached out to me on Facebook about our national debt? Yes. But it's not that Biden has done it. It's not that Trump didn't do it, raise our national debt. I mean, stop acting, again, similar to immigration reform, like this isn't a problem that keeps getting passed down.
Yeah.
So just stop. Just stop already. But again, we'll see what happens. All right, let's do some headlines with Kim McAllister. And then when we come back, a poll was taken of BART riders about why they do or do not ride the trains, because ridership is low. And yet at the same time, I think most people would agree that if we lost BART, it would be disastrous for not just public transportation, but how many people are on our roads. So you guys tell me in the comments, why do you or why do you not ride public transportation? What would it take for you to hop on a train or a bus instead of getting in your car? That's coming up on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And we will start with the renaming of the biggest military base in the world. It is now named for the late General Richard Cavazos, pictured here. He is the first Latino 4-star general in U.S. history. Fort Cavazos, Texas, was renamed this week for the decorated veteran of the Korean and Vietnam Wars. It had been named for Confederate General John Bell Hood. So Fort Hood, Texas is now no longer. It is now Fort Cavazos, Texas. Former President Trump says CNN made him an offer he just couldn't refuse. That's what he said. He's getting ready to sit down for a live town hall event on the network tonight. CNN says the offer they made was an opportunity for Trump to connect with the New Hampshire voters. House Republicans are accelerating their investigation into the Biden family business practices involving foreign governments. This House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said today that bank records show Hunter Biden courted foreign business that correlated with President Biden's work as vice president during the Obama administration. That, according to Comer. He accused the Biden family and their associates of receiving as much as $10 million from foreign nationals and their companies, including from China. The allegations yet to be corroborated. The Bay Area is leading the way when it comes to detecting COVID variants before they can spread. San Francisco International Airport is the first in the nation to test wastewater from international passengers. It'll be collected on arriving flights and then sent to a lab as part of a new program with the CDC. A manager at the biotech company being used says this will offer an early warning of what is coming into the country and moving around the globe as well. This is just, you think, the storms are over and we all move on, but there are a lot of people that can't. Find people that have experienced the flooding in Pajaro in Santa Cruz County. The middle school there won't be reopening anytime soon, called Pajaro Middle School. District leaders sent a letter to families saying it will remain closed for the next school year as well. The campus is in need of massive renovation to repair flood damage from the levee break in March. Students at Ohlone Elementary and Hall District Elementary who are entering 6th grade will have to stay at their schools, while current 6th and 7th graders will continue to attend Lakeview Middle School, rather. So this is a long-term problem for these kids who now have to either stay at their school or go to a different school. A Salinas football legend is being remembered. Joe Kapp died Monday from complications of dementia. He is best known for leading the Minnesota Vikings to their first Super Bowl and the California Golden Bears to their last Rose Bowl. He later coached at Cal for 5 seasons. The 85-year-old was recently honored in the community of Salinas when the athletic field at El Saucil Middle School was renamed after him. Maybe you remember this story. This is a picture of Katie Sorensen. And she had accused a couple wrongly of trying to kidnap her children at a craft store, Michael's in Petaluma. Well, now the couple that was wrongly accused of trying to kidnap the social media influencers' kids is being evicted from their home. Eddie and Sadie Martinez and their children were evicted from their home in East Petaluma May 2nd. That was less than a week after Sorensen was convicted of filing a false police report that named the couple as suspects in an attempted kidnapping in December of 2020. The family is now staying at a local motel while they try to find a new place to live. They have not said what led to their eviction, but a GoFundMe page is up for them, and it has raised more than $10,000, I think, for that family. I know Tucker Carlson, we had this yesterday. Tucker Carlson is launching a new show on Twitter. So let's see if I can get a picture up for you guys. So this is happening on Twitter, but apparently Elon Musk says he hasn't signed any documents stating as such. However,
Ew, you did not need that picture, but okay.
Oh, well, you didn't want that? You didn't want to see Tucker?
I was like, what is he going to show? I was like, oh, good.
What
Okay.
is she going to make me look at? No. Oh, the former Fox News host said in a video posted on his account, the new show would be coming soon, but an exact date wasn't mentioned. He said not many platforms still allow free speech.
Oh, shut up.
The last big one left is Twitter.
Oh, so he's not doing Truth Social? I mean, what's that say? I mean, I thought it was a big Trumper, so.
Yeah. So Elon Musk says he hasn't signed him yet. And he also put out, Elon Musk, an invitation to Don Lemon, saying that he welcomes all opinions from both sides of the aisle.
Whatever. I mean, I'm not going on Twitter to watch Tucker Carlson. I'm not choosing to watch Tucker Carlson. I never did before, so I'm never going to do it now. He's trying to stay relevant. Do you think, I know that we're on YouTube, but do you think that Twitter could be a place for shows? Because that's a change in how the platform is. I mean, you get snippets of things, but to actually host a show on there,
well, I think it already is. I mean, isn't there the Twitter, they have a platform for it, the Twitter
they have
video
Spaces. They have Twitter Spaces, but that's just audio, and you could just do a podcast then. They do have, they pair with some sports, so you can watch some snippets of sports on Twitter. I'm not quite sure if you could watch the whole entire thing without paying for it. But I know, for instance, when the Warriors were playing, I go on Twitter and I could watch kind of the little last 5 minutes or whatever's posted up there. But going there specifically to watch the Tucker Carlson hour? Nah.
I mean, maybe if you were a rabid fan, you would watch
it. That has something better to do with your time. He's so full of crap. You know he knows he is. His face gives it away.
It does? He thinks it's
he always looks like
liars
he's
who lie face?
Yes, that's a liar face. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of Twitter, a man from the UK is pleading guilty to hacking Twitter. Joseph O'Connor was extradited from Spain late last month to face charges in New York City. The 2020 hack targeted about 130 high-profile accounts, including those of President Joe Biden and of Twitter CEO Elon Musk. So there you have it. This, lastly, is kind of a crazy story out of Lake County. There's a Lake County substitute teacher who is now facing child abuse charges for reportedly allowing a middle schooler to vape in class. The police say Jennifer Hale was arrested in connection to the incident last week at Eustis Middle School. The police report states Hale gave a 7th grader her e-cigarette after overhearing that he had wanted to use one. The substitute reportedly admitted to giving the student her vape, claiming she wanted to fit in.
Oh, what? Stop.
District officials said she is no longer employed with them. You're the grown-up in the room. What do you mean you want to fit in? You're not, this isn't making friend hour.
That's
Are
you know,
joke
if you want
busting
to
me
fit
right
in,
now?
you take your lesson plan, you put it to contemporary music that the kids are listening to. You come up with a cool handshake. That's how you get in with these kids. You do not give a child nicotine. Ew.
No, no, no. I mean, can you imagine? I
And how
wanted to
do you
fit
hate
in.
the teacher?
You know where you need to fit in, lady? You need to fit in the teacher's lounge.
Yeah,
That's where you need to
exactly.
fit in. You don't need to fit in the classroom. These
How
are
old
not your
how old is the
friends.
teacher?
I don't know.
Oh, because I was
Doesn't
thinking, like, is it
say.
a new teacher and they
Like,
just
what is she
don't
in her early 20s or something?
or not that that's
I
an
don't know.
excuse, but sometimes these new
No.
teachers are not really and I know a lot of younger teachers, they're not like this, but who knows? She's not thinking. Not thinking at all.
No, I can't believe it. Yeah, no, I was trying to look it up. This isn't the only time this happened, though. It
That a teacher
happens.
has given a vape pen to a student?
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, Lake County, I think of it as here, but this happened in Florida. So Lake County, it's Lake County, Florida. And
Oh.
Jennifer Hale, by the way, is 50 years
50.
old.
50 years old.
She's 50. Yeah.
She should know better. She should
Oh,
absolutely know.
yeah.
Anybody
Yeah.
should know better. Anybody with a freaking
So she also offered the boy a hit off of her vape pen. Yeah. Can you believe that? So this is the Nikki Medoro Show, and it is crowdfunded. And I will say that you can help us by going to thenikkimedoroshow.com
Yes.
and checking out the Patreon and the PayPal links right there. And thank you to everyone who has partaken of the super stickers, which are live here on YouTube. I'm Kim
Absolutely.
McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Have you partaken in giving us some of your money for the show? Please do. Please do. We really appreciate it all. The most latest ones, Cheryl with a $20 super sticker, Vilma with a $5 super sticker. You guys have been really generous today, and I appreciate it. Kim appreciates it. We love you guys. But apparently not a lot of people are loving BART. That's just not something that's happening. So there's a new survey out that was conducted by the Bay Area Council, and it's asking basically a simple question: why aren't people riding BART anymore? I'm sure off the top of our head we could come up with a number of reasons, but here's a little report. Let me play just a little bit of it from our friends at KTVU. Oh, here we go.
According to the survey before 2020, BART was averaging around 400,000 riders per weekday. Now they're only averaging about 100 to 150,000 per weekday. Now comes the why. How come people aren't riding BART? Well, the thought has been that the shift to working from home has kept commuters off of morning trains because they simply aren't going into the office. But these results point to something else: safety and cleanliness. Get this, the survey shows 45% of people are choosing not to ride BART because they don't think it's safe. You can compare that to 19% of people who cited working from home or lack of commute as to why they aren't riding. 56% of riders say they knew someone who was a victim of a crime on BART. Now, the why. Why will people ride it? What's going to make them start riding BART again? Well, according to this part of the survey, 72% of people say having uniformed police officers would make them feel more safe on BART trains. Reporting live in Los.
So they want to see more cops on the trains. They don't feel safe on the train. So you guys let me know in the comments. Do you ride BART? Or would you not even go there if you were paid to? LAX Paint says, or Lax Paint says, simply put, there are better options than BART. What other option besides obviously your car would you use? Caltrain? Who was it? Somebody, was it Wes? One of you, I'm going to go back into the comments right now, was talking. Oh yeah, it was Wes. Why didn't I ride BART when I was living there? A, didn't live close to a station in Bayview. Took too long to bus it. Also didn't go to Sunnyvale where I worked. That's why I've ridden BART. It's always the biggest joke because I'm a Bay Area girl. Once. I've ridden BART once, and it was for work. Station X, maybe do a BART story. I hopped on BART to do the story. It is literally the only reason, because I live in San Jose. Now, BART to San Jose, still not close enough to my house. Like Wes mentioned, I'd have to bus there. If I was truly not going to hop in my car at all, I'd have to bus it to the station and then go there. And then even if I was going to drive my car to the BART station, you have to get there early enough to get a parking spot, which can be a pain in the butt. Wes says it was also dirty. Oh, sorry. Which one did you want to put up? Oh, yeah, Eric. I don't ride BART because I don't go into the city much. When I do, I absolutely use BART over driving whenever I can, but I'm a big guy, so I'm not as worried about safety. That's a good point. Would I feel comfortable riding BART every single day as a single short-statured woman? Again, I don't have a lot of experience with BART, so I don't have any of the negative baggage that some people probably may have with it. I don't have any experience, being harassed. Calvin says it would help. A lot of fare evaders would be prosecuted. Am I wrong, Kim, that I saw something in the news that they were redoing the turnstiles to make them higher so people couldn't jump over? Or maybe that wasn't here. Maybe that was in New York. Okay, yeah. Maybe that was in New York. But I know I saw somewhere where they were changing, where it wasn't so easy to hop over. But again, unless there's somebody enforcing it, if all somebody has to do is climb over instead of hop over, they'll do it. They'll do it.
So BART's not cheap, right? And there's a lot of stops along the way, and safety, and it doesn't take you to your destination. And oftentimes I had to be to work too early or to stay too late. And so for all these reasons, it just never made sense to me. I've taken it once or twice, and it's nice to have it as an option. Right. But when it takes you twice as long to get home, then you have to ask yourself for convenience sake, when you've been gone from your kids all day, do you want to add that extra, 45 minutes of stopping and starting again? No.
Sherry Warren Art says, I ride BART once a week for work to downtown San Francisco. It's filthy, can have undesirable people bothering riders, and soul sucking.
Oh, no.
So, okay, let me ask you this, Sherry. Does it just need a makeover? Let me do this. If you hopped on a BART train and it was clean and there was a police officer there, just standing there, in uniform, not one of these, you don't know that there's cops there, but there's cops there. And not just cameras, because we know that last time the cameras were just dummy cameras anyway. They weren't even recording anything. So would that change your mind? Because there's also the PR problem that BART has, right? Too many bad headlines about it that if you don't give it a chance, if there's nothing, this week we are going to start having one uniformed officer on every bus at certain stops, right? Or at certain stations. We are going to have, kind of like those outdoor toilets that are on the street. BART trains are going to get a quick clean down every so often, every day. Well, we promise once a day, it's going to get swept through. I don't know. Somebody's going to be in charge.
Oh, no.
Well, when you think about it, you can't stop the train to clean it head to toe, Kim, if you want to keep up the number of trains on the tracks.
Well, then perhaps there needs to be a person who is, assigned to each train, or a couple of trains constantly getting off and on and cleaning as we go. You walk through, that one looks a little sketchy.
Like how the flight attendants do on the plane.
That's right. Exactly. Yes.
I don't know how feasible that is when people are getting on and off at all times. It's hard enough for me to vacuum my house when my kids are watching TV and have them lift up their feet. Can you imagine trying to deal with people coming on and off the damn BART train and trying to clean the floor? I mean, logistically, it's a nightmare.
I recently told you a story about an acquaintance of mine who sat down next to a person that was dead on a BART train.
Oh my God, it's haunted me, this story. Thank you.
What we have here is major humanity happening. Right. This is the human experience aboard the BART train. You've got people spitting. You've got people, puking. You've got people
Don't hire Kim for your PR, BART.
Everything that you could imagine is happening on the BART train. You've got needles dropping down. You've got, kids with cookie crumbles. You've got the whole range. And so, you need to get the people there. I'm not saying my car's any better. I mean,
you have people puking and dying in your car.
You wouldn't believe what's going on in there. But I feel like, yes, you could do a better job at cleaning it up. And if that's happening, if that life is being lived on the BART train, then you've got to clean it up.
Right. Well, Murphy mentions the public transportation that I do use, which is Caltrain. Murphy says I take Caltrain to see the Giants, but the train goes right there. Exactly. So let's
That's the
see.
beauty of it.
There is light rail. I could so from right here, I'm not even far from the Caltrain station. That's because it's in downtown, the Diridon station, and you can just hop on, so it's not that bad. And there's tons of parking. You're in downtown, like even if you weren't like in the parking lot, there's so much around there. You're right by the SAP Center. There's tons of parking, and so Diridon station all the way. The last stop is Oracle. So it's so easy. And not that I'm an alcoholic or anything, but you could drink on the damn train. It's nice. I've never been harassed, and I rode Caltrain regularly. I mean, when I worked in San Francisco, I did it a couple of times when I did my internship in San Francisco. I love the fact that you can go upstairs and have your own single seat. It's nice, and it's
But would you
clean.
ride it now commuting to the city, or just does it take too long with all
Well,
the
the
stops along
Caltrain
the
doesn't
way
run the hours. Like if I was
Yeah.
going to work the early morning, I could never take it at Station X working the morning show. It doesn't run at those times, which sucks. I also want to catch the bullet train because the bullet train is the closest time wise, not counting getting to the station, but time wise on the actual train to me driving. It's about an hour, maybe a little bit over. It could be 2 hours if I got the I'm stopping at every stop train. And I don't want to do that, even though I could decompress and I could read a book and I could do work and blah, blah, blah. I want to go home. I want to be home with my family. I don't want to be on a train. So that's my biggest thing. The biggest hurdle to getting me on any public transportation is to convince me it's easier and quicker than my car. That's it. And that I don't know a public transport like in New York. The subway is it, because it might not be the cleanest or the quietest or whatever, but it sure as hell gets you quicker. And that's what we don't have here. You're not getting me there that much quicker. So why the hell would I bother with all the rest of it? Now, for some people, obviously BART is quicker, but not for enough. Randy says, I did take BART to Oakland A's game several times. We did Sherry already. David says BART was originally planned to ring the entire Bay Area. Santa Clara County opted out. Well, now it's moved in. It's still not enough.
No.
Here in the South Bay, we have light rail. The last time I took light rail was when I was going to Levi Stadium, and it was convenient. It was crowded once you got closer to the stadium, but it wasn't bad. But yeah, it just needs to be. It needs to be cleaner and faster, and it needs to go everywhere. And that's expensive. It really, really is.
I'll tell you, this is going to make me sound awful.
Oh, lay it on me. I sound awful all the time.
Because I know that it's good for the environment, taking mass transit. I know it's better for traffic. I know it's the right thing to do to get cars off the road.
Mm-hmm.
But I have still in the recesses of my American mind that whole I need to have my own vehicle.
Yes.
I want control over my own destiny.
Yes.
I don't want to be at someone else's, mercy when it comes to, will the train show up? Will the train be late? How many times are we going to stop? When are you going to start going again already? I know that's not the right way to think. And I try really hard. I battle with that. But I like having my own space and my own car, and I'm in control of the air.
I don't want to talk to people either. I don't want to.
The radio, and it's my space, and yes, it's like my own little rolling house. As a matter of fact, I go and sit out there sometimes. Now, everybody in here can leave me alone. You can find me in the driveway.
No, I decompress in my car. I'll tell you this, now that I've been driving back and forth to San Francisco again, although I don't miss it, I have realized that was my space to do some of the things. Like, I'm a huge podcast junkie. I listened to Kim doing this show on the way home from work yesterday.
Thank you very much.
I don't know how much you listen to our podcast, by the way, but it is really fun to listen to it instead of watching it.
Okay.
I have learned, and if you're listening on the podcast, what we both need to do, we need to describe more of the things that we're seeing. Sometimes it's hard when you're in the moment, like, what? I don't get to see that. So, but it's interesting. And I loved getting that perspective, but I listen to podcasts all the time. Sometimes it's this show. Sometimes it's something educational. I have my favorites. I love murder mystery type things. And I missed it because now, I mean, I don't commute that much unless I'm going to San Francisco. So the 10 minutes that it takes me to get to whatever thing my kid's doing is not enough to binge a podcast. An hour, 15 minutes is. So I do miss that decompressing, but I love when people would be like, you should carpool. I don't want anyone in my car either. And I'm joining you in the I'm a terrible person thing.
Yeah.
Oh, please. Because then I'm going to feel like we need to talk. And even if you say we don't need to talk, I'm still going to feel like we need to talk. Or I'm going to have to ask you if you like this podcast. Or I don't want to do that. I want it to be me time. Selfish, me, only me time. So
my daughter has this too. So we're in this theater carpool. We have practice all the time, every week. She's in a show called Heathers. And so, every 4 days a week now, and now with Tech Week, it's even more. So I'm in this carpool with 3 other families, and they will pick her up and take her if it's their assigned carpool day. But she has told me, I don't want to do that. I want to come out of the school and get in our car. It's a moment, like a decompression moment for her, almost like, you get in the car and you don't have to, you kind of release, right? Like you can kind of just let your guard down and be yourself for a minute and have that moment with family before you get dropped off at your activity. She doesn't want to still be like, not be able to
I hear ya.
So I get it. There is something to that where, you just want your own space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I think they're going to have to do a big makeover. Somebody needs to be brought in. They have to have a huge PR campaign that's going to take money. And without the ridership, BART's going to have a hard time doing it. But I also think it is worthy of being saved because the other option, of course, is all of us car drivers are going to have a lot more company on the roads. Okay. We're going to do some quick headlines. And then to wrap up this show, it's the end of an era, but I feel like this era ended a long time ago. How many of you watched a lot of MTV News? That's coming up right after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
I am Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show, and let's get right back to this guy, why don't we? This is George Santos, of course, and this is a congressman who now remains defiant after his federal charges were announced. The New York Republican taken into custody Wednesday on 13 federal charges, among them wire fraud and money laundering. Santos has been released on bond. He says he is innocent and he has no plans to resign from Congress.
Right. He is such a liar. And now the latest thing that I read was that the treasurer that was like in charge of making all these payments might not even exist. The guy is a lying liar. Like he's the worst liar. Nobody should believe anything that he says. They should throw his ass in prison.
I knew they were investigating, and it had been, in the scheme of things, it's been a pretty short investigation. So, I mean, one can assume that they uncovered some pretty glaring
he is so
things
guilty. He is so guilty. Yeah, he's going to prison.
So one of them, and this is what a story from CNN. So Santos, they say, who is charged with fraudulently applying for COVID-related unemployment benefits, is a co-sponsor of a bill that would help states recoup fraudulent COVID unemployment insurance benefits. What? You can't make this up.
He's pathological. I mean, he doesn't even see it.
Crazy.
I feel like.
When he was running for Congress, Santos also publicly opposed pandemic-related unemployment benefits,
which he
benefited
benefited from.
Took them?
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
Fits right into the Republican Party. Total hypocrite.
He said in 2020, do I disagree with the $3 trillion that we have written into law? Wholeheartedly. Do I understand it was necessary because people were hurting under unprecedented pandemic conditions? Yes. I disagreed profusely at first with the payment, the unemployment benefit, the extended benefit, the stimulus, the socialism. That is socialism. And that's everything I stand against. And then he turns around and takes the socialism.
He's an idiot. He's a total.
Come on. I mean, wow. That's just a wowzer. As you had mentioned, Republicans secure the border they say, as Title 42 is set to end. New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik said the House will vote on the Secure the Border Act Thursday when Title 42 expires. Again, among the items in this bill, in this act, is the border wall. The White House issued a veto threat of the bill earlier this week, saying it would actually make elements of our immigration system, even worse. So that's not something that they are willing to support. Of course, the debt limit, the U.S. debt, as you had just mentioned, Nikki, the discussion on this is coming to a make or break moment. If Congress fails to pass a debt ceiling, hiking the U.S. Debt ceiling hike, rather, the U.S. defaults on its debt. That, according to President Biden, who today said a default would result in the loss of 8 million jobs and the economy would fall into recession. Now, Republicans say Biden needs to start cutting down America's $30 trillion plus debt. Congress needs to raise the debt limit before June. The discussion is ongoing today. They're meeting at the White House, and apparently there's another meeting between Republicans and Democrats now set for Friday as well. So I guess what we can say is at least they're talking about it. At least there's that. It looks like U.S. senators are introducing a bipartisan bill creating a COVID-19 commission. They say the legislation would be modeled on the 9/11 Commission. It would look into the origins of the COVID pandemic, public health messaging, vaccine development and distribution, and the medical supply shortage. Okay. We should have had a COVID commission all along, it seems like to me. Elon Musk, as we had mentioned, is inviting Don Lemon to launch a new show on Twitter. The former CNN anchor was fired from the network last month. And again, Tucker Carlson, who was also ousted from Fox News, announced Tuesday he's planning to launch a new version of his show on Twitter. What I wonder is the platform of Twitter, is that comparable to the platforms that they had? Or are they going to find, they have a many fewer viewers?
Well, of course, there is no way Tucker Carlson is going to get the viewership on Twitter that he ever got on Fox News. I mean, there's no realm of possibility that he will get even close to it. Now, if you count retweets, clip polls, things like that, perhaps the reach could be. But reach versus what you can monetize, which is the only reason why they do any of these things, that's completely different. And so, I don't know. I'm not playing a tiny violin for Tucker Carlson. For all I care.
You don't feel bad for him?
No, not. I not him, Tucker, Bill O'Reilly, Donald Trump, all of them. They could just kick rocks and never exist. Not die, just not exist in my realm of reality at all.
Lastly, a former South Carolina corrections officer is facing a drug charge after she was caught trying to sneak a metal grill mouthpiece into prison.
Why? You gotta be... Wait, you styling? You got to have your grill in prison? What are we doing over here?
The Department of Corrections says 26-year-old Alkina Uniger Hackett tried to hide the grill in her hair last week. That led authorities to search her car, where they found, they say, nearly 130 grams of a rock-like substance that tested positive for fentanyl. She's been charged with trafficking fentanyl, providing prisoners with contraband, and criminal conspiracy. All because of the mouthpiece grill, which led to the car search. Was she
trying to see if she could, because that seems really stupid, right? Was she trying to see if she can get away with it, to see what else she can get away with? Because if you're going to hide anything in your hair, hide the fentanyl. Don't hide a grill that, I don't know if it was metal, like true metal that'll sit off a metal detector, but
well, maybe she had success sneaking the fentanyl in with her hair before. So
what do you need a grill for?
What do you need it for? That's exactly right.
I mean, I don't know what you need it outside of prison for either. I mean, it's styling, I guess. But even if you're a prisoner, you can't wear it. They're going to see it in your mouth. It's not a wet. I don't know. That boggles my mind. It's a very interesting one.
It all boiled down to the mouthpiece, the grill, the fancy grill. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So, yes, it is gone officially, although I feel like it was gone a long, long time ago. And that, of course, is MTV News. How many of you, did you ever watch MTV? Are you an MTV watcher at all, Kim?
I was when I was I saw MTV come on the air.
Yes.
I remember I was at my dad's house in Texas, and I just happened to catch the first video they ever showed. And then I watched it in the 80s and maybe a little bit in the 90s. And then it started becoming less about music and more about all the reality shows. And that's when I dropped out.
I mean, you could call it like not MTV, you could call it ridiculousness. So I still watch MTV, but you're absolutely right. It's very much reality TV. So what do you watch, Nikki, on MTV? I like the challenges. If anybody still watches MTV, it's similar to kind of Survivor-ish, except they don't live out in the wild. They live in fancy mansions, but they do these challenges, which I think are funny. But as far as news, it's just not happening. Let me play you a little bit of a report with a bit of a history of the MTV News, because it won Peabodys, it won Emmys. It wasn't this, fluffy type of thing.
Video killed the radio star, and now Paramount has killed MTV News.
I remember that. I still remember that.
Hi, I'm Kurt Loder with an MTV News Brief. President Bill Clinton.
Correspondents like Kurt Loder gave young people an alternative to traditional news for 36 years. It wasn't just music news. It covered the Iraq War, natural disasters. It won Emmys and Peabody Awards. Parent company Paramount says the MTV News closure is part of a 25% cut to its U.S. workforce.
25%. Kennedy, I don't know if you guys remember Kennedy. She was one of the news. She turned into a total right winger. So she's on, I think she's on Fox News or whatever. Kurt Loder, I mean, everyone's like, oh my God, Kurt Loder is so old. Kurt Loder looked old there, in my opinion. But he was definitely somebody that took news seriously on MTV. Obviously the war, like she mentioned, the Bill Clinton interview. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Tabitha Sorensen, but one of them asked, do you wear boxers or briefs? And he's like, I can't believe he answered it, but he couldn't believe. He's like, I can't believe you asked me that. It just brought younger people to the news.
I used to like Martha Quinn.
Yeah, I liked her too.
Yeah.
She's doing something. But anyways, it's the end of an era. But it makes me wonder who was really doing the news to begin with. And is this just another example of just where people get their news changing? I would even equate, and maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but MTV News, what it was back then, similar, although not exactly the same because they use comedians and they come at it from that direction, The Daily Show. I mean, especially when Jon Stewart was on it, how many people would say over and over again, oh, I get my news from The Daily Show? Yeah. Even though there were the jokes and everything like that, they still covered it. They still, they had commentary on it. They let people know what was going on. They just did it in a funny way, similar to MTV News. You're here for the music videos. We'll also give you some news. And now you can get news or your news that you want to hear in all kinds of places.
But did they? I don't know. Did they really cover music videos anymore? Was it only just? I mean, when did
back in the day it was. I mean, it was all music videos. That's why artists made videos. I remember. I mean, I think they still do. They have. So don't judge me, but I do still watch MTV. So I watch some of they do the movie awards, and sometimes I watch that. I'm just a kid at heart, Kim. Just stop. But they used the music video awards. Huge. It was, if you were into music and celebrities, it was the show to watch. But now they make videos, but I don't know who for. Maybe just for social media, because you don't see them on MTV anymore. Now there's MTV, there's MTV2, and they're both always showing ridiculousness. Let's see. What else do they have? They have the challenges. The real world type of thing, which I don't even know if they do the real world anymore. I think they just take characters. They do a lot of reality TV, which, caveat on another story that's been happening, the writer's strike. Did you see that Fox was saying, I don't think we're really going to be that much impacted by the writer's strike because they do a lot of the unscripted reality shows, which is If you want to insulate yourself from something like that, put that crap on television. People watch it. They love it. The Real Housewives, all those sorts of things that people hate, people still watch. I've made this disclosure and I'm not proud of it, but I have been watching that stupid show Farmer Wants a Wife. It's so stupid. But I love my brain dead television. I just do. It's late at night. I don't need to like really even
Farmer
look at
wants
it.
a wife? Is he finding a wife?
It's 3 farmers.
Okay.
So stupid.
And the farmers are looking for love.
They're looking. It's the same. It's copy and paste, Kim. It's just the farmer, and it's just like every other I Want Love show, except it's. But the funny part of it is all I do when I watch these shows is judge it. I mean, you guys know me by now.
Yeah.
I just watch it and I judge. I watch Survivor. I love Survivor. You want to know what I do most of the time that I'm watching Survivor? I would never want to do that. That's what I say over and over. I would never do that. I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't eat that. I wouldn't do that challenge. Like, I just judge the whole entire thing. With the farmers, they bring these. Some of them have farming experience, but they bring these women on. Some of them are city girls, right? They live in Nashville, but they don't like they're wearing white, Kim, and they're cleaning, stables. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. Yeah. But it's funny to watch these women out of their element try and follow with farmers, which I would say, or is it 4 farmers? I think it's 1, 2, 3, might be 4. I think it's 3. These farmers, especially one of them, they're not very forthcoming with their emotions. So it's a lot of, yeah, I like you. I'm like, oh my God, this is just, but it's a train wreck. I can't stop watching. But that is a way, if you're going to put on a TV show where you don't need writers, you just look to the public. They will fill that gap till the cows come home, to use look, see, I'm not the only one. See? Terabyte MC, I'm watching it too.
Oh, look at you have company.
Oh, yes. LAX Pay. I watch Flavor of Love with Flavor Flav. I watch all the crap TV. You guys probably can't put too much up that I at least haven't given a shot. Beauty and the Geek. I don't know if I've seen that.
Are you watching all these shows now that you cut your cable cord?
Well, you know what's funny is the reason why I watch Farmer Wants a Wife is because I put it on one of my save thing, so it keeps popping up. So that's what also keeps me watching it.
Yeah.
I'm okay. Here's another thing, just because you brought up the cutting of the cable, we just bought a smart TV. So I've never had a smart TV that has all the apps on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to be watching. I don't know if I'm going to be watching more. We literally got it 2 days ago, so I haven't really watched a lot of TV because we were gone last night. But I might be watching more crap TV. 90 Day Fiance. I've tried. It's not finance, it's fiance. I get what you're saying. I've tried that show. I've watched a couple of episodes. I'm telling you, people, I watch a lot of terrible television. A lot. I do my due diligence, so you don't have to. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It definitely is. Roku, Vivo. Oh, for the music, I'm saying Vivo has music videos. If you guys are wondering about that, so yeah, there you go. Well, I'm gonna squeeze these stories in under our pop culture umbrella because a number of you sent me this. Did you see that Robert De Niro is had a 7th baby?
And he is 79 years old.
I mean, more power to you, Robert, for being able to
no,
do what
because you're going to die soon, and you're not going to be able to raise this baby. They're never going to know you.
Oh, do you know how many movies there are? I'm just saying that tongue in cheek. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, he's 79 years old, and he actually, and nobody really knew that the baby was born because who's following Robert De Niro's births? You would think that he'd be done by now. Apparently, the rumor is he had the 7th child with his rumored girlfriend Tiffany Chen, who he met on the set of The Intern. Remember that movie, The Intern?
Mm-hmm.
And so that is, did I bring up a picture? I think I did. Here, where is it? Oh, no, I didn't bring it up.
His oldest child is 51.
How would you feel
His
if
youngest will be 0.
If your dad, you're 70, so my dad's 80. What year are we in? He's going to be 83 this year. If he came to me and said, and my mom wasn't around, obviously, I'm having another baby, I would have thought he was off his rocker. I mean, there's never too old, but he's rich. I'm sure the child's going to be taking. Yeah, exactly.
He does have the money to take care of the child. I'm sure the child will be fine. But will the child be emotionally fine? The child won't have a daddy. I mean, I guess
True.
one could argue that there is every chance that Robert De Niro could live to be 100. So maybe that
That
child
could
will, for 20
happen.
years, have a dad. However, he's not going to be probably in the condition to go out and throw the ball around in the front yard with the kid, or to, teach the kid how to ride a bike, or all these other things when you're in your 90s trying to do these things. I don't know. I just think
Yeah.
I don't think it's really in the best interest of a child.
Oh, there you go. Well, our friend Kim had posted a comment under it. What did she say? She said something to the effect of women's eggs shouldn't age at 40, or, age out, I guess, at 40, but men can still have
Yeah.
kids well into the 70s, 80s, 90s. It doesn't seem fair because our options are limited, because our eggs are limited and the age of
Right.
them are
Yeah.
limited. Yeah, Heather says it's basically a sperm donor situation. I mean, I don't want to hate on them. If they get along, apparently they've been together for a couple of years, so it's not like this is a fly by your seat type of relationship. You do have to wonder, why are you dating Robert De Niro? I don't know. I don't want to be ageist. I know age is just a number. If they're two consenting adults and they connect on a certain level, more power to
And
you.
if she's of childbearing age, then she has to know that when she has this baby, she knows how old he is, and she
Yeah.
knows what this means, that there's a likely chance that she'll be raising this child alone.
Yeah, yeah, obviously. John says my father was 51 when he had me, and when I was in my teens and friends would see my father, they thought it was my grandfather. Yeah.
Well, but I think parents are getting older now. There's
Right.
a group of parents that are still really young. God, I think it was Jacob was going into kindergarten. There was a group of moms that were standing around talking, getting to know each other.
Mhm.
And one of them said she was like born in the 80s, and it had been like, I think I was a teenager or something, or she was born in like 91 or something. And at that point I was out of high school. And it was like, oh my God, I'm a contemporary with this person, but we are decades apart. Like
Yes.
there is nothing between us. I mean, it's very interesting, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of parents that are older now. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people that are doing that. So when you say your dad had you in his 50s, I could see people back then saying he was your grandpa. Now that seems to be normal. Women
Yeah.
having babies in their early 40s.
Well,
But when
yeah,
you
because
talk
my
about-
parents are older, and sometimes
Yeah.
they're the same age as some of my kids' friends' parents.
Right.
And it's
But we're
different.
talking here not about that. We're talking about an 80-year-old man.
Brand new baby. Changing
Brand new
diapers.
baby.
Well, you're not
That's,
changing any diapers.
that's
You
quite
know
a
that's not
different
gonna happen.
situation. Really.
Exactly. I know. George Burns had this childbearing fashion. Susan says, I heard that older men contribute to children that could have problems, not just an older woman's problem that have medical issues. That's an interesting take. Like, is it even safe for men to have children this old? I mean, your sperm, it's not the same as eggs, but there is an argument that, what are you doing? And again, I think honestly, your argument about they're not going to be around, is there just a point where men themselves should say, I'm done. I'm done. I want to take care of the children I have and welcome their grandchildren. It's not like you have to. I bet he didn't think I bet he thought he was maybe shooting blanks or something, right? You think he's really trying to have children?
I think so. I do. I think there's an ego there, and that you can take care of them after your death because you're leaving this money behind. Yeah.
I love Pamela says old men having babies is gross. Call me ageist. I'm 68. That's funny. Hold on, there was another one. 70 is the new 40. I love that one. And then someone said, oh, where was it? I'd rather have an 80-year-old dad than an 18-year-old dad.
Interesting.
Possibly. Oh, here it is. Chris said, I'd rather have an 80-year-old dad than an 18-year-old father. I mean, it matters. 18-year-old's going to run around with you. An 80-year-old, if you're Robert De Niro, definitely has the finances to take care of you. Okay, so coming up this week on Friday, I am 90%, we almost nailed it, 90% sure Loretta Lynch is going to come back on the show. We're going to talk about PG&E, that whole fixed rate plan, how we're then going to get higher bills and everything like that. So she'll break that whole thing down. We're just trying to nail down the time because she's actually out of California right now. Also, I'm trying to reach out to Emily Hoven, talk about California housing, where Governor Newsom is falling on that. So that is all coming up. Yes, I got an email. I still have not made my cheese-filled coffee crumb cake. I don't know, man. I've been really busy. I might make another attempt at it. I still have all that crumble that I made in my fridge.
With cheese this time? Yeah.
I'll try to make the dough. But let me give some shout outs, you guys. Before we end the show, will you please click that thumbs up button? It helps us out. It helps us with YouTube. The super chat is live. So let me give some big old thank yous because you guys have been generous today.
So nice. Yeah.
Deidre had to leave early, but she donated $10 before she left. Thank you so much. Vilma with $5. Cheryl with 20. Andreas, multiple donations to our super chat. $20 from Andreas. Chris chipped in $5, as did Wes. Harry came in with $10. Deidre again with $25. You're awesome. Another Andreas, $10. $5 from Wes again. Andreas with another 10. Beth came in with a $20 donation to our super chat, and so did Calvin Wong. Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate you so much. Jim came in with a $10 super sticker, and Andreas started us off with a $20 donation. I fixed my mic, thank goodness, because I missed you guys so very much. I will be here the rest of the week, but again, a big thank you to Kim McAllister holding down the ship while I was gone. And yeah, as I work in San Francisco, the days that I'm on will change, but just know I will be here when I am not up there. All right, you guys, I love you all so much, and we will talk again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome, Miss Brown, like a beautiful blossom. You're all so the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.